Well, it's another unseasonably warm day in February, the 14th. I've had a few inquiries about the old truck here. It's showed up in several other videos as background, but I thought I'd shoot a little bit here today just to show a few more details on it. It's an M68 Mercury. That's the equivalent to a 3/4 ton truck. It's basically a Ford with some fancy trim on it. You'll notice the strip of chrome around the front fender. Park lights, I believe Ford didn't have those up there. Other than that, it's your basic Ford built truck. This old truck has likely spent its entire life since 1949 outdoors, and it shows it. Originally there was wooden planks in the floor, and they've long since rotted away. The box itself is extremely rusty. It's only very tenuously connected to the rest of the body. The driver's door is impossible to open, so we have to get in through the passenger door. The interior is actually fairly decent. There was an incident. I wasn't around to see it, but apparently somebody thought it would be a good idea to break the back window. This was back when it sat on the other farm. And people tended to come in and look around, and if they felt like smashing things, they did so. Same on the windshield. The seat is still relatively good, surprisingly, because raccoons were actually crawling in through the back window. I've rigged up a crude piece of expanded metal and bolted on here to keep the raccoons out. The floor is pretty good, considering it was covered in junk and wet rubber floor mats which held the moisture. Equipped with the factory heater option. Mileage, I can't see it from here, but I'll hold the camera over. 48, 49 something. Your typical Ford gauge setup. Mercury horn button, of course. Key in the ignition, ready to go. 4 on the floor. A little cleaning up and it would be a decent looking truck, but before we get to that point, there's problems under the hood. The engine is seized solid. I believe it last ran in the mid-1970s, so we're looking at, what, 40 years. Oh, I'm going to need both hands to do this. Okay, obviously the hood catch is not working properly, but anyway, here's your basic Ford Flathead engine, and I know some people will have no idea what a flathead engine is, but the name comes from the fact that the heads are literally flat. Unlike your typical overhead valve engine, the valves in this one are literally inside the block, beside the cylinders and pistons. This will be old news to Ford Flathead aficionados, but to those that have never heard of it, this is one of the later Flatheads. In 1949, I believe it's the 8BA Flathead. It has the very desirable distributor mounted up in a place where you can actually work on it, as compared to the earlier crab and diver's helmet style distributors, which were way down there behind the fan and extremely awkward to work on. So this one, yeah, water pump seized up too. Anyway, I've been soaking this engine for well over a year in various different fluids, trying to loosen up the seized solid engine. I'm beginning to think, say, it may never break loose without unbolting the heads and getting in there with a little cleaning fluid and eventually a block of wood and a hammer if all else fails. What I've been doing here is I have a swing arm and socket on the crankshaft pulley. Obviously the fan and generator have been removed so I can get in there to work, and I've been rocking this. There's a slight bit of movement, but I think what's actually moving is not the pistons. It's such a well-worn engine that what I'm feeling or hearing is slack in the connecting rods. So anyway, it's an ongoing project. Radiator's in decent shape, which is a plus. Got your date of manufacture right there on the firewall. Obviously it's a Canadian built truck. There's your tag up on the firewall. Yeah, probably a little hard to see. It has what's referred to as the Widowmaker rims on it. They're 17-inch, and apparently when they get old and rusty they can be kind of dangerous for the fact that they tend to explode as you're inflating them. So I guess if the day ever comes that I need to change rubber on this, I'll change wheels too. But for the time being, the old originals are holding air. Surprisingly enough, this front one is off of a GMC of a similar vintage, and it bolted right up. Even the hubcaps fit, so how lucky can you get? Anyway, that's pretty much all there is to see. Last licensed in 1971. Got your little sliding door there. Seized solid. That was for hauling grain, unloading. It had wooden sidewalls that extended up to about here, and it would actually haul somewhere around 90 bushels of grain, which was really a pretty bad overload for the gross vehicle rating of 6,800 pounds, but the truck survived it anyway. So there you have it, the M68 Mercury. More to come.